Hello friends, welcome to the second video of our practical English speaking series. In this video, we are presenting a story that will help you practice English. The title of our story is My English Learning Journey. Before we start the story, I would be very happy if you could subscribe to my channel and like the video. Now, let's practice English together. Learning a new language is a life-changing experience. For many, including myself, learning English has opened many doors. It's not just about learning words and grammar. It's about exploring a whole new way of thinking, communicating, and understanding the world. In this video, I will share my personal journey of learning English. I will talk about the challenges, the progress, and the moments of joy that come with it. I hope my story can inspire you to keep going on your own language learning journey. I remember the first time I heard English. It sounded so different from my language, almost like music. At first, I didn't understand much. I could catch a few words here and there, but most of the time, I felt lost. I started with basic words and phrases, simple things like hello, good morning, and how are you? Learning these words gave me a little bit of confidence. I knew that if I could say these simple things, I could start building up my skills. The first lessons were slow and sometimes frustrating. I would forget new words as quickly as I learned them. But I kept going, and I kept trying to remember. Every new word I learned felt like a small victory. Once I had a few words, I started to build my vocabulary. This was an exciting part of the process. I began with things I could see around me, objects in my house, food, colors, animals. I used flashcards and I wrote everything down in a notebook. Every day, I would try to learn a few new words. It was important for me to see the words in writing and also say them out loud to remember them better. At the same time, I started to learn some basic grammar rules. I learned how to form simple sentences, like I am happy, she is my friend, or it is raining. Grammar was not easy, and sometimes I felt confused, especially when I had to understand tenses past, present, future. But I kept practicing, and slowly it started to make sense. Listening was another big part of my learning journey. In the beginning, listening to English was very difficult. I could hear the words, but I couldn't understand them. I remember watching movies in English with subtitles, but even then, it was hard. Sometimes I couldn't follow the conversation, and it felt frustrating. But I didn't give up. I started listening to songs in English, even though I couldn't understand all the words. I listened to podcasts, news reports, and watched videos online. At first, I only understood a few words, but over time, I began to recognize phrases and sentences. Little by little, my listening skills improved. It's important to listen every day, even if you don't understand everything. Listening helps your brain get used to the rhythm and sounds of the language. It makes speaking and understanding easier. Speaking was probably the hardest part for me. I was afraid of making mistakes. I thought that if I said something wrong, People would laugh at me or think I was not good at English. But I realized that making mistakes is a natural part of learning. It's okay to make mistakes. At first, I practiced speaking by myself. I would repeat sentences I heard in movies or podcasts. Then, I started speaking with friends or teachers who were also learning English. They were patient with me, and that made me feel more confident. The first time I spoke with a native speaker, I was nervous. But the person was very friendly and understanding. They didn't care if I made mistakes, they just wanted to communicate. This experience taught me that speaking is not about being perfect. It's about trying, practicing, and improving. Reading was another important part of my learning journey. At the beginning, I read very simple books with pictures and short sentences. It was a bit like reading children's books. These books helped me understand basic sentence structures and learn new words in context. As I improved, I started reading books for adults, though I still chose easier ones. I loved reading stories, and every time I finished a book, I felt proud. Sometimes I didn't know the meaning of certain words, but I would guess their meaning from the context. Other times, I used a dictionary to look them up. Slowly, I learned to read without stopping too often, to check the meaning of every word. Reading is a great way to improve your vocabulary, understand grammar in context, and see how native speakers use the language. I tried to read in English every day, even if it was just for a few minutes. Writing was another area I focused on. At first, I only wrote simple sentences. I kept a journal in English and wrote about my day. It didn't matter if I made mistakes, I just wanted to practice. The more I wrote, the more I realized that I could express myself in English, even if it wasn't perfect. I started writing longer texts, like emails or short stories. Sometimes, I would ask a teacher or a friend to check my writing and correct my mistakes. This was helpful because it helped me see where I was going wrong and how I could improve. Writing every day is a great way to reinforce what you've learned. It helps you remember new words and practice grammar. It's also a good way to organize your thoughts in English. Along the way, I faced many challenges. There were times when I felt like I wasn't improving fast enough. Sometimes, I compared myself to other people who spoke English more fluently than I did. But I had to remind myself that everyone learns at their own pace. Progress takes time, and it's okay to go slow. I also faced moments when I felt tired or frustrated. Learning a language can be exhausting. There were times when I wanted to quit. But I didn't. I kept telling myself that the effort would pay off, and it did. Every time I learned something new, I felt a sense of accomplishment. It motivated me to keep going. It's normal to feel frustrated sometimes. Learning a language isn't easy, but it's worth it. Stay motivated and celebrate the small victories along the way. One of the most important lessons I learned was the importance of consistency. It's not enough to study English once a week or only when you feel like it. To improve, you need to practice every day, even if it's just for a short time. I set small, daily goals for myself. For example, I aim to learn 5 new words every day or listen to an English podcast for 20 minutes. These small goals helped me stay on track and made me feel like I was constantly improving. Even if you only practice for a few minutes a day, it adds up over time. Consistency is the key to becoming fluent. As I continued to practice, I started feeling more confident. I could understand conversations better. I could express myself without hesitating too much. I began to feel comfortable speaking English in everyday situations. I remember the first time I traveled to an English-speaking country. I was nervous about using my English skills, but when I got there, I was amazed at how much I could understand and how well I could communicate. I realized that all the practice had paid off. I could use English to make friends, navigate the city, and have real conversations. Even though I've come a long way, I know that my journey of learning English is not over. There is always something new to learn. I still practice every day, and I'm always looking for ways to improve. Language learning is a lifelong journey. There are always new words, new expressions, and new ideas to discover. I look forward to continuing my journey and getting even better at English. If you are learning English, remember that it takes time. Don't be afraid to make mistakes. Keep practicing, and you will get better. Every small step counts. Your journey might not always be easy, but it will be worth it. Keep going, keep learning, and one day you'll look back and see how far you've come. The more you practice, the more confident you'll become, and the more doors will open for you. Enjoy the journey. Friends, we have come to the end of our video. I hope it was a useful video. Stay tuned for more content like this where you can practice your English. Goodbye.